Welcome to the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast, where it is never too early for fantasy football. My name is Jeff.
And I'm Alex.
As always, thank you for downloading, listening, liking, and commenting on our podcast videos. Please join our community by subscribing to us on the socials. Our handle on all platforms is at N2E Fantasy. We are also available on all major podcasting apps by searching N2E Fantasy. Alex, what do we have on today's show?
On this episode of the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast, we are going to discuss the fantasy relevance of the first wave of the NFL free agency period. But first, Jeff, what news do we have around the league?
So the only bit I put all the league news under each one of the teams team focused, but Atlanta was announced to be playing a game in Madrid in 2026, and I'm assuming they're going to be the host team due to the NFC having the extra game this year, but we will see as the schedule gets announced in the coming weeks. I think we're like 8 weeks away from schedule announcement time. 9 weeks.
I don't know who comes up with this, but it would have made more sense for the Texans to be the home team in Madrid because their logo is a bull. Get some bullfighting.
It would have, but the AFC teams aren't allowed to host an international game this year. Maybe they'll get do they play Atlanta this year? Maybe they'll be the away team.
I don't know. But there's also the league considering a Wednesday before Thanksgiving game, which, come on, man.
I love it.
Let's not oversaturate the market, all right?
I love it. Come on.
We have family members that don't watch football that would murder us if all we did was watch football all day and ignore families.
But it's not all day. It's Wednesday night. Do you do Thanksgiving Eve things, Alex?
We have two sets of families, so it's either Thursday night and Friday or Wednesday and Thursday.
We have two sets of families.
You got my wife's parents, we got my parents.
No, I hear you. It just sounded weird saying we have two sets of family.
Maybe we'll do a Friendsgiving, so that would be 3 days. So
Good. You absolutely can. All right. You ready to hop into the fantasy relevant NFL transactions for the first few days of free agency?
Sure. Let's start with the lame teams first. Ready?
The Houston Texans. I'm just kidding. Kidding. We're going to do this division by division and alphabetical order in those divisions. Buffalo is up first, and their trading and signings were they actually traded Chicago a 2026 second rounder for wide receiver DJ Moore and a 2026 fifth rounder, and they released wide receiver Curtis Samuel. Do you believe DJ Moore is an upgrade on Curtis Samuel, and what do you think of the trade otherwise?
Yeah, I'm disappointed with Curtis Samuel's whole career arc at this point, so he should be gone. And I think DJ Moore is an upgrade, but I can't help but think they would have been the perfect team for Mike Evans.
They could have been.
Mike Evans has only played with gunslingers. He's played with Baker. He's played with Johnny Manziel in college, and he had a brief stint with Tom Brady when Tom Brady just needed to chuck the ball to somebody in Tampa. So felt like it was the perfect wide receiver for Buffalo. That's not happening. We'll talk about where Mike Evans is going. But DJ Moore, another Panther player, gets to go to a Bean team. What's his name? Brian Bean? It's not Billy Bean.
Brandon.
Might as well be Chad. It's Chad Bean from now on.
I know you don't like him.
I think he is a rat. I think he scapegoats the coaching, and I think all he knows how to do is borrow from the Panthers, which haven't exactly been the model of success the last several years.
Had to throw a shot there. No, I really like Brandon Bean. I think he's really smart, and this year will definitely influence my opinion on that. So if he has a rough year, then we will be talking about something different going forward. But right now, I think that he does pretty well as being the GM.
It was pointed out on Twitter. I wish I could remember who said it, but that all of these GMs that survived their coach being fired, all of them are being aggressive this year. So I think all of them feel the heat, and Bean is one of them. So that's why he was aggressive to go get a wide receiver, which fans complained about ever since they've moved on from Diggs. That's why he's going after a pass rusher, which I don't have here, but I don't really like them going for an older pass rusher who hasn't really done much of late. I think was it Bradley Chubb?
Yep.
So we'll see how it shakes out because this is the make or break year for him. If they don't get further than they did with Sean McDermott at coach, then I think he's going to go.
Absolutely. We'll see. This year, as you said, is going to be make or break, and we will see if he can make it or not. But let's hop over to Miami, where Bradley Chubb came from. Trading and signings for Miami were they signed quarterback Malik Willis to a 3-year deal. They signed Zane Gonzalez, kicker, and wide receiver Tutu Atwell to 1-year deals. They also released kicker Jason Sanders and quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, and they re-signed tight end Greg Dulcich, which I really like, to a 1-year deal, and kicker Riley Patterson to a 1-year deal. So it sounds like there is a kicking battle between Riley Patterson and Zane Gonzalez in Miami. And looks like we have a quarterback swap and Tutu Atwell joining. What do you think of their moves?
So Miami is the team that fired their head coach and their general manager and replaced both and pulled both from the same system. So one, I like that element of it. And two, I like that they brought the backup quarterback from that system to be their new starter in Malik Willis. I like that he had success over there. What is crazy to me is we were talking about Tua and his cap hit and how that gives them no money. And you always say that the cap isn't real. The cap is just an accounting figure. And yeah, they somehow having what I feel like 5 million in cap still were able to give a big deal to Malik Willis to come over when we both predicted he'd go to Arizona. So, I mean, good for them. They have a stable quarterback situation as they build this roster back up piece by piece. They were able to move Tua's 15 million of Tua's front line bonus to next year, which evened out the cap hit, so it's not as bad this year. It's still pretty bad. It's like 54 million or something this year. So still pretty bad, but it could have been worse. So interesting accounting, but I don't expect them to be super competitive this year. This is a build from the ground up operation.
Yeah, does that put Willis in a spot to be successful year one? And do you think Tutu Atwell opens as the third receiver on this team?
I don't think a third wide receiver is going to matter. I think all the fantasy points are going to be Achane, Willis, and who's the
Waddle?
Is it Wilson? Waddle. It's just going to be those three. No one else is going to get much fantasy points.
Gotcha.
If you're counting on more receiving work from other people, then you haven't been watching Malik Willis play.
He's been okay in starts, but I do understand what you're saying. But he should be very fantasy relevant.
He doesn't throw that much. When he does throw, it's been pretty accurate when he was with Green Bay. But he mostly runs the ball rather than throwing a lot in the game.
Can you see some read options between him and Achane?
That'd be pretty sick. People think it's gonna hurt Achane's value. Like, it's not gonna hurt his value at all.
No, I think it's going to open up more lanes, if anything.
Yeah.
As long as he's as accurate as he was in Green Bay, so the passing is still a threat. But I can tell you hits in Miami feel a lot better than hits in Green Bay in the cold weather. So good move by Willis.
I feel like that offense is going to be... There's two high safeties they're going to run with Achane. Achane's going to tear them apart. If there's one safety, he's going to chuck it deep to Waddle, and Waddle's going to have a big game. But outside of that, he's going to run himself.
Yep.
So, it's pretty dynamic. Too. Just though, he's one of those tight ends that every year is like, this is the year he's going to break out. It's going to be this year. Like,
he did pretty good last year.
This is the year. No, it's not. It's not, man. It's not. I don't believe it. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, he finished tight end 45 last year in like a backup role, so hopefully he can with more opportunities. Just being in the middle of the field though as an outlet for his quarterback is going to be a huge deal.
Yep.
And even if they don't use him a ton,
I think this could work both for fantasy to an extent, and I think Miami should be reasonably competitive for how barren that roster is going to be.
I think they'll be a 5 to 6 win team this year,
which I think would be a qualified success.
Yeah,
It may not feel like it, but it should be viewed that way.
I hope that Willis looks good enough to maintain the job, and that a 5-6 season or 5-6 win season is not blamed on him. So that's my hope.
Well, his contract ended up not being that significant of a contract. Like, that's a pretty favorable contract to get out of if it doesn't work.
Yeah, I just hope that it does work because I do like better quarterback play in the NFL, and I think he's an upgrade on Tua. So
yes,
at least adds another element. But we can hop over to New England here. They just swapped out receivers. They signed wide receiver Romeo Doubs to a 3-year deal, and they released Stefon Diggs. What do you think of the move there?
Well, I know Philadelphia is upset about this, but Romeo Doubs, I think, is the low-budget version to get a deep threat. And everyone else is going to work together to fill the Stefon Diggs role because I think Doubs is going to be more of a deep threat. I know everyone's saying Doubs is filling the Stefon Diggs role. No, he's not. Doubs is doing the deep threat role. That's what Doubs is. He's a deep threat guy.
Absolutely.
I mean, you got Pop Douglas that needs to get out there. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't fully agree with that. I felt like Jayden Reed was always the deep threat guy, and I thought that Romeo Doubs was over the middle guy. So I know that you thought he's a different MVS, but I always saw a different receiver than.
I thought Reed is more the over the middle guy, and that's why he kept getting hurt.
No, he got hurt on a deep shot to the end zone this year and broke his collarbone.
Oh.
I think you have a wrong assessment here, sir.
No, I don't think so. I'm always correct, Jeff. But some of these contracts, there's one in particular we'll talk about later, but Christian Watson is going to make more money than Romeo Doubs got here with New England.
Yep, and they like him as a deep threat also. I think that what the Packers did at wide receiver was not the best method because they had 5 rookie deal receivers, and I don't think they ever fully understood what each one of their skill sets were. Like, I don't think they understood Watson and Reed and Doubs and Wicks and Matthew Golden now. Let's add Matthew Golden and Savion Williams to it. So 6. So I just think that, we will see. But I don't have Doubs that high at receiver yet, and I'm still working on my ranks, but right now he's wide receiver 43-ish for me right now, so he's not like super high, but draftable.
Yeah, I mean, unless they do something else, he almost has to come up.
Yeah, the problem is that they don't feature one receiver, and they didn't even feature Stefon Diggs really last year. Like, I know that he finished wide receiver 18, but it doesn't feel like he was ever consistent.
Yeah. It felt like he sneakily got 1,000 yards when no one was looking.
Yep, absolutely. He did it in those revenge games against Buffalo.
All right. Well, let's finish off the division here with the Jets.
All right. They trade a late round pick swap for quarterback Geno Smith with the Las Vegas Raiders. They signed kicker Cade York to a 1-year deal. They do not tender restricted free agent wide receiver John Mechie, and they franchise tag running back Breece Hall.
Yeah. They also lost a couple linemen too, so we'll see how this shakes out. They spent most of their offseason signing defensive guys. So
see how that works out.
Well, they have 2 first-round picks in the draft. We'll see what they use them on. Probably more defense.
They're gonna be probably a 3 to 4 win team. I think they'll be 4th place in the division behind Miami. So that might be 2 of Miami's wins right there.
Well, it's going to be crazy because I would say the Jets are going to have more star power and talent overall.
Mm-hmm.
So if they finish last, that's quite the indictment on the head coach who got his entire staff from last year fired and has a brand new staff. but kept his job somehow.
Yep. And I think that they have the 4th best quarterback in the division.
You don't even know who the real starter is yet.
Geno right now.
Simpson. They're going to draft Simpson. Number
Maybe.
2 overall.
Maybe.
Can you imagine if they did that?
You would be floored after this trade.
Like, what a joke. What a joke.
Absolutely. All right. So enough about that team. I just don't feel like they're going to be fantasy relevant outside of Breece Hall and maybe Garrett Wilson this year. The rest you probably could leave on the waiver wire for bye-week fill-ins like Adnan Mitchell and maybe Mason. Is it Rudolph? Or not Mason Rudolph. Mason Taylor?
Yeah, Mason Taylor.
Yep. I went way back in time with Kyle Rudolph there.
Yeah.
So hopping over to the AFC North, Baltimore here, they had a trade in place for the 14th pick, plus another first for defensive lineman Max Crosby. However, they failed Max Crosby's physical. And the day after, they went and signed defensive lineman Trey Hendrickson to a 4-year deal, which Alex will have plenty to say about that in a second. But they do not tender running back restricted free agent Keaton Mitchell, and they re-signed backup quarterback Tyler Snoop Huntley to a 2-year deal. So I'll let you go off on the defensive lineman here.
Everybody knows. They got embarrassed. They were giving up too much for Max Crosby, who's older than Micah Parsons, and giving up more compensation than the Micah Parsons trade because the 14th overall pick is higher than a late round first. It's just so obvious. Everyone knew about his torn meniscus. Everyone knew where it was in the process. Every single team was aware of this.
Mm-hmm.
They just got reamed and made fun of by people and decided to back out, especially after seeing Trey Hendrickson was still available. So they used their last chance to back out. I mean, oh no, he's got an injured knee. Yeah, no crap, dude. Everybody knew this. And watching DaCosta, the GM for the Ravens, press conference after signing Hendrickson was the most cringe thing because you knew he was tightroping every possible thing. Tightroping HIPAA so that he doesn't give away specific medical information. He specifically did not say it looked worse than we thought because that would probably be a lie. 2 or 3, that he had to say that, oh, we were pursuing Trey Hendrickson and Max Crosby. We wanted to team them up together, which is why we were negotiating with Trey Hendrickson. It's unfortunate that we couldn't proceed with the trade, which is very precise language. Could not proceed with the trade. Had to do what was best for the Ravens. Like, completely ignoring the question altogether. Everybody knows, but there's no recourse to it. So, I mean, they can do it. It was allowable. It was done during the tampering period and was backed out of before things became official. So it is what it is, but everyone knows what they did.
Yeah, I mean, it is possible that they took imaging of his knee and they saw something more degenerative than the meniscus going on. It is possible, but then they can't speak about it. So it's a hard line, and I haven't seen Crosby push back on anything yet either, so that is pretty telling as well.
Well, they didn't say anything, Jeff. They didn't say anything.
Well, I don't see him shutting down any leaks.
Well, nobody leaks any information. Nobody, and they completely sidestepped the entire issue. They know exactly what they did. They just can't admit to anything because they say they didn't know the injury was there. They look stupid. They obviously knew the injury was there. Everybody did. And they can't say it's worse if it's not worse. So they didn't say that. Like you said, HIPAA, they can't say anything specific about the injury because it's HIPAA violation. So they can't say, we investigated, it was outside of our comfort zone. The risk profile was outside our comfort zone. They didn't say that.
I think they
could say that technically. They didn't.
I thought he said the doctors got in and they looked at it and they didn't feel good about executing the trade at that point.
No, they did not say that. Did not say it that way. He completely sidestepped it.
And it might just be a legality thing.
He looked like he had an intense briefing with the team lawyers before he went out there. I mean, there's several different ways that could have gone horribly wrong for them, and I think he navigated it without incurring any legal action.
Yeah, he said he was gutted and disappointed. They were not able to complete the process based on the assessment of the situation.
Yes, which means nothing. Those are nonsense words, nonsense phraseology. It's not saying the team doctors. Read it again, Jeff. Listen for anything team related or injury related in the actual text.
But there are leaks out there that they were concerned about his knee outside of the injury. But I haven't heard Crosby say.
Read his actual text again. It's legal jargon to avoid an answer.
Or a lawsuit.
Yes.
Because whose assessment would be that they couldn't go through with it? It would be the doctor's. It would be only the doctor's assessment.
Or we couldn't go through with it because we're giving up 2 first-round picks for basically an equal edge rusher that's available for 0 first-round picks.
It's not.
Who is also coming off of an injury.
Yeah.
Coming off of an injury.
The general consensus is that Crosby's a better player and a more complete player. So, I don't know. It sounds like he's going to be staying with the Raiders, and we'll get to the Raiders in a little bit here. But
you didn't read the text again. You read the text out loud.
Because
what was the specific?
I just have an AI version of the text. I'm not sure it's official.
No, it's official. It's official.
No, I plugged it into an AI thing, and they're just doing little snippets of it. So I don't have the exact language. Instead of Googling, got to use AI every once in a while.
We can say that the Ravens learn DaCosta doing business with the Ravens. You get
Absolutely.
it? You get it?
Yep.
Just throw a joke out there, Jeff.
DaCosta doing business?
Yep.
Absolutely, and I think that'll harm people for making at least off-season trades with the Ravens going forward. But in the few moments since we've been doing this, the Dolphins did sign another wide receiver. It's one of your favorites, Jalen Tolbert, to a one-year deal. So how do you feel about the Dolphins signing Jalen Tolbert to go with Tutu Atwell?
Well, I think Tolbert is the second best wide receiver on the team. Well, could be Washington. So Tolbert's better than Tutu. Tutu has had way more time to try to be something, and he's just not. So
yeah, Tutu's much more the deep threat, though.
Anyway, the specific text for the Crosby thing. We were not able to complete the process of trading for the player based on our assessment of the situation. And nowhere in his entire speech did he say injury, what the injury was, the level. Yeah, it's public information. If it's he can regurgitate what's already public.
Not if it's new.
He can say it's not new. He can say that when we saw it, it was worse in our minds than what we had pictured.
Yep.
You can say that, and it's not giving away details.
What if they saw like his ACL hanging on by a thread, and they're like, they're going to have to go in and operate this again? It has nothing to do with the meniscus. Might not have been in the imaging.
Yeah, but his actual doctor said he's doing great.
For that injury. Why would his doctor ever say that he has something else going on? Why in the world? He wouldn't be able to. HIPAA. He would only be able to release what Crosby allows him to.
You're arguing the less than 1% chance that the Ravens have an actual case, and this isn't about saving draft picks.
What if he goes down in week 1 with another knee injury? Will you retract everything you said?
All things are possible. All through the Lord God, all things are possible. Through fantasy football gods too.
That's right. That's why you don't tank in fantasy football, to not anger the fantasy football gods.
I still think it's hilarious that one league I was ready to tank, and this guy wouldn't give me my first round pick back, so I decided not to tank, and I made the playoffs.
You sure did. Good old RSO League. All right, let's hop over to Cincinnati. They have made no signings, no cuts, no extensions or tenders of fantasy relevance. The same thing can be said for Cleveland on the signings and cuts front. And Cleveland did tender Malachi Corley, Jamari Thrash, and Andre Schmidt. kicker. So they didn't do any moves either, really, other than retain their exclusive rights free agents, which means that they can't even sign with another team at all. What are your thoughts for those two teams?
I think it's interesting that Cleveland kept Malachi Corley, or is in the process of doing that.
Yep, they already have him.
So, I mean, I don't know if they view him as a top 3 wide receiver on their team. Maybe.
I think so they can exclusive right free agent him for the league minimum. So I feel like they felt like, why wouldn't we keep him for the league minimum?
Yeah, I guess that's.
And I believe the Jets are still paying him because I guess it's not like a fully guaranteed deal from the Jets, but he was a pretty high draft pick, wasn't he? 3rd round.
Yeah.
Probably has a good chunk of it guaranteed.
But yeah, since he's not really doing anything on offense, their entire offseason is pretty much focused on defense.
Would agree there. Yeah, his cap hit is only just over $1 million for 2026. Felt like a no-brainer considering the cap situation that they're in. Like, why don't we just keep a cheap wide receiver that's 23 years old?
He's still got promise, and if he doesn't, work out as a wide receiver, I could see him being a really good special teams player.
Absolutely. All right, on to Pittsburgh. They traded Indianapolis a late-round pick swap for wide receiver Michael Pittman. They signed running back Rico Dowdle to a 2-year deal. They released Jonnu Smith, and they extended newly acquired wide receiver Michael Pittman with a 3-year deal. What do you think of the moves that Pittsburgh made?
Well, I like the Michael Pittman trade for them. They got him for a reasonable deal, too, because that was not an expensive extension at all.
Nope, I think he made what Evans made.
Yeah. Another guy that probably should have gone to Buffalo instead of, Pittsburgh, but at least he's a different style wide receiver than Metcalf, and I think they'll work together well. We'll see if Aaron Rodgers will throw to both of them.
Well, I think no quarterback move has signified that they are waiting on Aaron Rodgers right now, so we will see. I didn't even sign a backup.
They tried to get Kyler Murray. They tried to entice Kyler Murray. Didn't work.
I didn't even see a meeting with them, so I think that was just Kyler trying to drum up interest and get his clause that we'll talk about in a little while.
So Jonnu is interesting that they released him, but very predictable. They just signed him and then they released him after their coach got fired.
Well, it's very clear that it was Art Smith signing or trade.
Well, Art Smith didn't even make it work.
Right.
Didn't even make it work. Waste of money.
Well, they ruined Freiermuth, that trade.
Yeah.
The split of work, and I think Freiermuth is squarely back on the fantasy radar now.
Yep.
So 1 year.
It'd be interesting to see if Jonnu signs with anybody that needs a tight end.
Absolutely, he should. I mean, there's still teams out there that don't have very many or any tight ends that should consider signing him.
Texans could use a tight end, and they ended up wasting money, throwing money at tight end Foster Moreau, the 2-year, I think, $6 million deal. Not very thrilled with that, but they finally released Joe Mixon, who nobody has seen in over a year at this point, and they extended Dalton Schultz to lower his cap this year, but now he's signed through 2027.
Yep.
Not sure he, deserved that. It seems more like a cap move than actually paying Dalton Schultz. So they also signed a right tackle or right guard, depending on how you look at it, and re-signed 2 of their better top 5 linemen from last year. So their line could be better this year than it was last year.
Yeah, only
that's pretty much it.
Only you would know the linemen for the Texans and not every other team.
Well, the lineman that they got was the right tackle for the Colts, so it hurts the Colts, benefits the Texans. He's one of the better run blocking linemen. He just has had mental health issues and injury issues, so we'll see if he's fully past all that.
Absolutely don't like the Dalton Schultz signing. That first contract actually got rejected by the league, and they had to go in and edit it and get it league compliant. So that was interesting that the Texans tried to skirt the rules there.
Well, why don't you have that they extended Kaimi Fairbairn? They made him the richest kicker in the league right now.
They did. They did extend him as well, I think a 4-year deal, and that's what Brandon Aubrey is reaching for when we get to the Dallas Cowboys section here.
Yeah, you have restricted free agent kickers, but you didn't have Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, I didn't put a lot of the quote-unquote extensions on here, but I did put Dalton Schultz because it was kind of weird that they did. I wanted to talk to you about how you felt about the extra year on his contract now. That was more the bigger point of that.
They need to draft tight ends. I would love it if they drafted a tight end early in the draft. Like if they got the number 2 tight end available, who is my number 1 probably at this point.
By my calculations, you guys have the most tight ends in the league already. So
wow, I'm not gonna lose anything if Stover and what's his face? I can't even remember his name.
Jordan, Dalton Schultz, Foster
Moreau never
plays.
Yeah, I don't know why they went for Foster Monroe or Morrow. Sorry, it doesn't make any sense. Those 3 can all go. Schultz is okay enough to keep around, but they got the guy out of is it Vanderbilt? Is it I can't remember anyone's names right now.
Yeah,
is it Stowers?
I have Stover, Cade Stover. I have Dalton Schultz. I have Brevin Jordan and Foster Moreau on the roster right now. So 4 tight ends. And maybe a 5th if they draft one like you want. So we will see what that looks like. Anything else on
I think it was Eli Stowers. Is that
yeah, Stowers, yeah.
The name? That's who I want. I think he is rapidly becoming my tight end 1. I think he's better. Sadiq.
That's fine, but I don't think you're going to spend more capital on tight ends when you have 4. Maybe.
They went through
all tight ends.
A time period where they had like 6 tight ends because some of them played special teams.
All 6. All tight ends on the team, an all tight ends team.
Yep.
All right. Indianapolis, they traded away wide receiver Michael Pittman for a late round pick swap. They transition tagged quarterback Daniel Jones that turned into a 2-year official deal. And they do not tender exclusive right free agent Blake Grupe, but they do re-sign him to a cheaper 1-year deal, and he will compete for the starting kicking job against who was Indy's kicker last year? Shane Schrader. And also they also re-signed Alec Pierce to a 4-year big money deal. What do you think about the moves that Indy made?
I'm not a fan of them. I think they overpay Daniel Jones and Alec Pierce. I mean, I like Alec Pierce, but he's not a $29 million per year player. He's just not. Like, he's a $19 million per year player, maybe. So good luck. Good luck paying a specifically just deep threat player to now be your number 1 wide receiver. I'm very curious how it happens. Maybe he'll prove me wrong and be a top 5 wide receiver in the league now for some reason. I don't foresee that happening, and I have a hard time thinking he's going to be over a wide receiver 3 in fantasy. So everyone draft him high, I guess.
Like, are you saying a top 36 receiver or top 3 wide receiver?
No, I'm saying he'll be a wide receiver 3, as in 25 to 36. I don't think he's going to be that good, put up big numbers. I could be wrong. Sure, but
he would have to take a large jump. I have him at 44 currently, so he would have to take a large jump.
They could have moved on from Daniel Jones and signed basically the same thing, or the same equivalent. They could have gotten Kyler Murray for dirt cheap, because apparently the Vikings wanted Daniel Jones.
Maybe. They could have made an offer for him, but they didn't.
He didn't make it. He was tagged.
Transition tagged. That means any team can make an offer. They didn't want to give up.
They could not afford to give up assets or big salary both. They got kind of screwed there. So
yeah. And I'm wondering if that leak was so Indy did the 2-year $88 million deal, 44 a year.
Well, either way, I mean, the next 2 years is going to be rough for them.
Yeah. I didn't even hear anything on Minnesota negotiating with him or him negotiating with Minnesota. I've only heard Murray to Minnesota. That was the only thing I heard all week. I don't know where the Jones to Minnesota rumor came up.
Yeah, but I mean, they traded away their best wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
I think both of us would say Pittman's a better wide receiver, and kind of paid what was their deep threat to now be their number one.
Yeah, and Pierce is 25 years old, and Pittman's 28, so there's only a 3-year difference. So it's not like this guy is not like Pittman was past his prime. So Pittman should do well in Pittsburgh with Aaron Rodgers hopefully returning. We'll see what that looks like. But Jacksonville just made one move here. They signed running back Chris Rodriguez to a 2-year deal. How do you feel about Tootin versus Chris Rodriguez?
Wow, Rodriguez got a significant investment. He got, low end starter, top end backup money. And his best college year was under Cohen at Kentucky. So on top of that, the GM, Gladstone, I think, he said that they weren't pursuing free agents because they want to get the compensation picks. And so to go out and specifically get Chris Rodriguez and pay him a decent chunk of change means he's going to be a big part of this offense. So it's most likely going to be a committee, but he could be the first and second down thumper. He could be the goal line guy, the short yardage guy. He could be the lead back. Could be a 60-40 situation with him, or he could just be a really, really solid backup plan if Tootin starts fumbling or Tootin can't play well. I don't know.
Absolutely. I think Tootin will be the receiving back for sure because Chris Rodriguez hasn't done well in the receiving game. So unless they're going to look elsewhere for a receiving back. But I think the first and second down work is going to be split between Rodriguez and Tootin. So look for probably a 60-40 split, maybe towards Tootin right now, but it's going to be close. And I think they're going to ride the hot end. So if Chris Rodriguez comes out of the gate hot, watch out.
I mean, put up 1,300 yards in college on like 13 games. So he could put up 1,600 yards behind that offensive line, maybe.
Absolutely. Last year he had 3 catches for 30 yards. The year before he had 1 catch for 12 yards, and the year before he had 2 catches for 12 yards. So I'm assuming he's going to be under 10 catches again this year.
Let me look up his college because someone said he had 7 times the amount of catches that 1 year in college under Cohen.
But it's not a skill set that he's worked on. And I think Washington really could have used it last year once Eckler went down and they were just reliant on Bill Krosky Merritt.
Apparently it's a popular last name. I don't know if you've noticed that sportsreference.com started doing this verifying thing.
Mm-hmm. They did start doing that. They also they've wiped away a few stats, but his best receiving year was 13 catches for 61 yards that I see. He played in
and 3 touchdowns. Huh? Come on.
That's not
that was
off of 13.
Cohen. That was Cohen as the OC. Look out.
That's not sustainable off of 13 catches, though.
Listen, 15 catches, 4 touchdowns. Okay? Just wait.
Don't bet on that. I'm betting on Tootin being the receiving back.
But can you see Chris Rodriguez getting 1,000 yards rushing at least, though?
I could see him getting it.
Potentially.
Yeah,
the potential. Yeah.
I have him in the 600s right now, but I could see that scoot up a bit. All right. Let's hop over to Tennessee, who is very busy. They signed backup quarterback Mitchell Trubisky to a 2-year deal. They signed tight end Daniel Bellinger to a 3-year deal, so he's reunited with Brian Daboll. Also reunited with Brian Daboll is wide receiver Wan'Dale Robinson to a 4-year deal. Signed tight end Kalen Granson to a 1-year deal as well. I believe he played in Philadelphia last year after playing with the Colts. And they re-signed kicker Joey Slye to a 1-year deal. What do you make of these deals that they've made so far?
I think Trubisky is going to be more of a locker room guy and help Cam Ward get on the right track and be a good example. And Bellinger is going to be the blocking tight end. And I mean, he does some receiving work too if he stays healthy. Wan'Dale Robinson, I think everyone predicted that was going to be a signing that they would go for. I don't know if he'll put up the numbers that he did in New York, but he will be a nice safety blanket for Cam Ward. I don't really know much about Kylan Granson, so I'll own up that I don't really know him.
Yeah, I don't think they've done enough at tight end. I think they lost. They lost too much at tight end with Chigo, and they haven't replaced it yet. They brought in Bellinger and Granson so far. Don't know if
They have
Bellinger and Gunnar.
They have the tight end from Texas that they drafted last year.
Yeah, he didn't really impress me last year, so we'll see. We'll see.
It wasn't really a good offense last year.
He did have 44 catches for 357 yards and 2 touchdowns, and I have him at just under 400 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think he's going to split the work.
Gunnar Helm, baby. Gunnar Helm. I don't know. While we're on the Titans, I don't know if you saw it online, but the Titans released their new uniforms in the old Oilers colors.
Yep.
At the 25-year mark to keep their trademark active right before the Texans were planning on going back to Oiler colors. So, I mean, I like the jersey colors. I just wanted the Texans to have the Oilers colors again in Houston. Oh well. Oh well.
Oh, right.
What did you think? What did you think? Did you see them?
Yeah, I did. I like the new logo. And I like the new uniforms. Yeah, hopefully they stay clean and crisp and don't go back to the 90s, because the 90s weren't always clean and crisp uniforms.
Let's go to Denver, who I think should have the permanent Orange Crush uniforms. But what signings did they make, Jeff?
So they didn't make any signings or trades or cuts or non-tenders, but instead they extended or re-signed some of their own team members, which is they're basically saying we don't need to get any better. We're good the way that we are. They re-signed tight end Adam Troutman to a 3-year deal. I think that was the biggest money for a blocking tight end. And they re-signed running backs J.K. Dobbins to a 2-year deal and running back Jaleel McLaughlin to a 1-year deal. So nothing major. They were trying to upgrade on Harvey, but they ended up with more of the same.
They struck out on every chance to upgrade from J.K. Dobbins, so they went back to J.K. Dobbins,
and they paid him.
And I don't know if you knew this, but he announced on Twitter that he will not be getting injured this year. So we'll see how that goes.
We will see. He's got a $6 million cap hit this year and a $10 million cap hit next year. So, plus he's got some incentives, $4 million. So he does have incentive to stay healthy. But
it's uninspiring signings or re-signings for Denver. I mean, Sean Payton just has his favorite guys, and he thinks he's too smart to actually get talented players. So,
yeah, I was wondering if this was an indictment on Sean Payton or not.
Yeah, I think it is, honestly. I mean, he did enough to rebuild Denver, make them a winning program again, but the personnel decisions sometimes are just so baffling because it's obviously not a top tier player and you need to upgrade, but you think you're so smart, you can make bottom of everyone else's roster wide receivers your wide receiver 1 because you're so great. It annoys me.
Yeah, I think he got lucky last year, and I don't think they make it as far this year based on the talent that they have. All right, Kansas City made some improvements here. They signed running back Kenneth Walker to a 3-year deal. Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker signed running back Amari DiMercado to a 1-year deal. So Brashad Smith, his role is a little bit danger there because those two seem like they could handle the Thunder and Lightning role. They acquired the 29th pick from the Rams for cornerback Trent McDuffie. They re-signed tight end Travis Kelce to a 1-year deal, and they re-signed wide receiver Tyquan Thornton to a 2-year deal, who's only 25 years old still. So, thoughts on their moves here so far?
They're going with a strictly offense approach, which is interesting. And I think it's probably a good thing to get a young, good running back out there. Kenneth Walker is not somebody who gets his points in production from running a significant amount of carries. He is someone that eventually pops a big play, and that's what they are looking for in Kansas City. They're looking for someone who can break up the too high safety and make the passing game more effective. For that reason, changing the coverage. So that's why they got him. I do wonder, Jeff, what they're going to do at pick number 9 in the draft. Are they going to go a wide receiver to make up for how Worthy is played and Bryce getting probably suspended and always in legal trouble? Will they go offensive tackle because they cut their offensive tackle a few weeks ago? Or will they go corner now that they traded one of their corners away?
I would see corner being a big area for the draft because it does seem like they like the young defensive players in the secondary. And they like to trade them away just as they're about to hit free agency. I think they've done that with the last 2 good corners that they've had. As far as drafting a receiver with Rice, Worthy, and Royals being so young and on the rookie deal, I don't see them going the Packers route. I would see them like going a Tyreek Hill or Stephon Diggs route instead because they need veteran receivers in there.
The Titans are cutting Snead at cornerback, so he can reunite with Kansas City. And like you said, Tyreek Hill can reunite with Kansas City. So maybe they go tight end and get Kelsey's heir apparent. Maybe they go
the Deke
tackle. Because, that Spencer Bano might be right there, or Moaga out of Miami might be right there at 9. An immediate upgrade, something that they've missed at offensive line for a while now, is a competent right tackle.
Well, and the cool thing is they have 2 picks in the first round now, so they'll be able to double dip on positions. So I don't know how far Sadiq will fall or
they better not get Eli Stowers.
They
better not get Eli Stowers.
They could be the pick 29, right?
I want someone likable to get Eli Stowers.
This would go against your narrative that the dynasty is done. Just beginning.
No, I think this is a retooling year for sure for them. And I think Eli Stowers can absolutely be at the end of the first round. And he could even fit with a team like Denver, too, who needs that joker.
Mm-hmm.
He not only did he test well, which we talked about for our combine videos, just because these guys test well and look good does not mean that they are good. He has the production to back it up. So whatever team he goes to, if they have an offensive mind there, he is going to look better than Kenyon Sadiq.
Yeah, I don't know if Denver has many or any needs at tight end right now because they are going to keep Evan Ingram and they have Adam Trautman that they just brought back. So they really only have one more tight end or fullback spot left on the row.
Yeah, but Texans could use him.
It's like a 5th tight end.
Chiefs pick again at 29.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, they could get.
That's what I'm saying. They might go Stowers at 29, and they might go lineman at their early pick. Yeah. But I think Jeremiah Love is off the table for them now.
Well, I think Jeremiah Love, based on what the Titans have been doing, Jeremiah Love goes at number 4.
They haven't released Tony Pollard yet, have they?
That doesn't mean that they were ever going to release Tony Pollard.
Well, you said that when
they wanted a committee between Pollard and Spears just isn't good and can't stay on the field.
Great. So I think Pollard, if they did draft Love, I think Pollard would take the 3rd down role because we know that young running backs, they don't love to put young running backs in that 3rd down role. Look at Genty last year. We saw a lot of Mostert in the...
Well, I think Pollard would be the Tyler Algier to Love, Like Algier kept eating into Bijan's touches. It's going to be that. And that's how you protect a young quarterback, too. You have a good run game.
Absolutely. And I think Wan'Dale will help the short pass game because I think that both Eilmanor and DK are much more better down the field. So it'll be real interesting to see what they do with Ridley because I think Ridley is a roster bubble guy still. I just don't see him fitting what they're doing right now.
Well, they haven't cut him yet.
I know. But on to Las Vegas here. They did sign wide receiver Jalen Nailor to a 3-year deal, signed kicker Matt Gay to a 1-year deal, and they traded Geno Smith to the Jets for a late round pick swap. And they actually acquired from Baltimore the 14th and a 2027 first round pick for a little while, but Baltimore nixed the trade before the league year rolled around, and so that is no more. They thought they had 2 extra first round picks to deal with this year too.
Is nevermore is the correct way to say it.
Get
yourself a little poetry. Get yourself a little poetry lesson. Anyway, Naylor is an interesting signing for them because I felt like it was unnecessary depending on the young roster, the young receivers they have on the roster, I should say. But he could end up being a sneaky good option for them. Ultimately, I think his absolute ceiling is wide receiver 2 on a team, and they may not be done at wide receiver. They may not be done at running back because they could still get veteran or young running backs to complement Genty. I don't think they're done with the offensive line either. So we will see. They might keep Crosby. I don't think. Well, 50-50 for me now because now Crosby is mad at the Ravens and maybe he's realizing his knee is actually an issue for other teams and the Raiders were right to sit him and rest him when they did. So maybe everything's all good now or he'll be traded to somebody else. And I don't know. But I like what the Ravens did. You're leaving off that they now made Tyler Lindenbaum the highest paid interior offensive lineman of the modern age and highest paid center by $9 million over Creed Humphreys, who is the Chiefs center. So I wonder if part of this is a move to put pressure on the Chiefs to pay Humphreys and lower their cap space even more and make it harder for them to field a roster. So at the same time as having a very, very good center when you're going to take a quarterback at 1.01 in the draft, the first overall pick.
I don't think I believe in that quarterback.
You know that they're actually trying to make it work.
Yep.
Unlike other teams that just willy-nilly draft a quarterback early and don't support them at all, they know that he needs support. They're trying to support him.
Absolutely. You could always look at it as they acquired Max Crosby for 2 first-round picks also.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
Want to be the positive spin, but I think their defense is going to be much better, but they're also going to be going against like the Chiefs with a much better offense. It'll be interesting to see what those two battle look like.
I don't know about much better offense, but
Walker
we don't know what their wide
much better.
What? Yeah, but what's the wide receiver situation look like? We don't even know.
At worst, it's Thornton and Worthy who won't have a shoulder injury 5 minutes into the first game at a minimum.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I'm assuming they addressed the right tackle issue, but we don't know yet. A lot of this we're going to have to see after the draft and see what it looks like at that point. And then there's the late stage free agency and any trading. Vegas made a lot more improvement, in my opinion, than the Chiefs did so far.
Yeah, and Worthy, though, you can never say that he was 100% last year after separating his shoulder like 5 minutes into the season. So
you're saying people should be acquiring Worthy for cheap?
Buy low.
Okay. All right, what about the LA Chargers, Jeff? They signed Keaton Mitchell, who you told me was going to get featured by a team this year, and now he's the likely number 2. The Lightning to Amarian Hampton's Thunder, most likely. And they signed Charlie Kolar, who is now considered a blocking tight end, although in college he was a very good receiving tight end. So we'll see if he gets some receiving work and takes away from Gadsden. Because I think low-key is going to hurt Gadsden's value, even though nobody realizes it. And they kept Kamini Vidal, who's likely the 3rd running back now.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you make of their moves? I thought they were pretty solid overall.
Me too. I think Keaton Mitchell fits the Mike McDaniel offense and 2-year deal there. So that actually puts Hampton and him together for 2 years. I think he's a better fit for this offense than Najee Harris was last year. So there's that. And yeah, I think Charlie Kolar, if he takes Will Dissly's production and Tyler Conklin's production, then yeah, we're in a good spot because they're both off the roster now.
We've got the NFC finally. We've got the NFC East up first with Dallas. Dallas has mostly made, I think, a lot of defensive moves, but they did sign a new backup quarterback, and he's one of your favorites.
Yeah, Sam Howell to a 1-year deal. So if Dak goes down, he's got a shot to prove it and potentially get a better deal going forward. But he should no doubtedly be the backup going into Dallas next year. I know they have Joe Milton as well, but I think that's a failed experiment. And they've also tendered restricted free agent kicker Brendan Aubrey at a second-round level, which I've already mentioned, but he'd be looking for the best kicking contract ever.
So, do you think Pickens stays there all season, or do you think they trade him?
I mean, the moves that they've made, I think that they have to keep him at this point, but it really depends on the draft because that's the next major point for your AJ Browns and your Pickens. Because if you remember correctly, AJ Brown and Stephon Diggs were traded during the draft, and Tennessee picked with that pick. They picked Treylon Burks, which we're going to get to in a little bit, and Justin Jefferson was picked with the Stephon Diggs one. So there is a pattern and a history of that happening.
Dallas let their best wide receiver walk in Jalen Tolbert. I mean, he was the prince that was promised, and they just wouldn't get him the ball enough. So we'll see. We'll see wherever he went. We'll see if he can put up them numbers. But
they have Jonathan Mingo.
I don't know if anyone is out here that's going to trade for Pickens at this point. A lot of people have already made their roster decisions at wide receiver, and I don't know if anyone's willing to trade first round picks for him.
I don't think anyone is, but what if they could just recoup what they gave up plus a little bit more? I wonder if someone would do that. The teams with the most receiving needs, though, are like Indianapolis. I think outside of Downs and Pierce, that receiving core has a lot to be desired. Minnesota,
but they're not going to pay another. They're not going to pay another wide receiver $30.
Nope. Minnesota could use some help. Baltimore could use some help, but I don't see Baltimore going for Pickens.
I actually could. I think that's a good one.
2 first-round picks. Psych.
They would probably do the 14 or the future first.
Yep.
But they wouldn't trade 2.
It's possible.
But that would be hilarious. That would be hilarious if they did it twice.
But I haven't heard Dallas like waving him out there though either yet. So I did see Dak say that just come back, play on the tag, do the best you can, and get paid after this. Is what he was his advice to him. But it's easy to say because Dak did that. Dak got tagged so many times that I don't think he could get tagged for how many times he's been tagged.
Well, Dak had a breakup with his girlfriend and baby mama of two kids. They were about to get married in a month, and they ended up having a joint bachelor and bachelorette party. Never, ever, ever do that, folks who are getting married. Don't do a joint bachelorette party. It's a bad idea. But luckily for him, they weren't married. He doesn't have to split half of his stuff with her. He just has to pay child support for 2 kids.
Absolutely, but she's probably entitled to some of his stuff because they probably have built a life together, like based on
Texas is community property.
Yep.
I don't know what the specific time parameters are, but you can be presumptive husband and wife for all intents and purposes without actually being married. So there could be that angle. For sure.
Yeah, like she deserves something because I'm sure she's made sacrifices for his NFL career throughout. I'm sure he'll take care of her. No, I'm not even that worried about that. Dak does seem like a pretty stand-up guy, so unless
if he's pretty stand-up, why did they break up?
Sometimes you just don't want the United States in on your relationship.
I guess. Listen, just get married before you have kids, people, if you can. I know you can't always do it, but aim for that. It's probably better.
All right.
Maybe she didn't want to sign a prenup. All right. Anyway, let's go.
Maybe. But yeah, let's hop over to the New York Giants here now that we are done with our Dr. Phil session of the podcast. But the Giants here brought over tight end Isaiah Likely to a 3-year deal, kicker Jason Sanders to a 1-year deal, wide receiver Kelvin Austin to a 1-year deal. They also re-signed wide receiver Isaiah Hodgins to a 1-year deal, and that was actually the end of their signings here. I actually had Daniel Jones under there because I lived for 3 years ago.
Calvin Austin's kind of interesting. Isaiah Likely is likely to be a top 15 or so tight end this year, I think. And it kills Theo Johnson's value, which disappoints me greatly because I like Theo Johnson. No, but Calvin Austin's interesting because I've always viewed him as a decent slot receiver, but Aaron Rodgers never threw to the middle of the field. And I think he could fill the Wan'Dale Robinson role and maybe be a good value to keep an eye on in the offseason and see if there's glowing reports about him or see him in preseason. So I'm curious about that one.
Absolutely.
Or no, you know what? I'm confusing him with Roman. That's my bad. Never mind.
He still will be good though. I think I think he has a chance to be the 2, maybe the 3. I think he definitely will be behind Neighbors, and if Neighbors gets hurt, I think there's a chance that he could pass Slayton. I wonder why Slayton's even on the roster still.
Because the GM gave him a huge contract a couple of years ago. Slayton's not a good receiver. He does not deserve $20 million per year. It's dumb.
Agreed. Hodgins probably doesn't even deserve a roster spot. Hyatt's still there. Gibson's still there, but as a kick returner. So it does seem like they have enough weapons. They did not get a running back to go with Cam Skattebo, which was the rumor out there, which was interesting. So he probably is one of the biggest winners of this week.
They have Tracy.
I know. There was rumors.
They have Tracy. They have Singletary.
Yep.
They have 3 good running backs. Why would they need to go after Walker? Why would they feel like they need to get Jeremiah Love? It makes no sense to me.
Yep. But Likely feels like he could split time with Theo Johnson. I don't know how that shakes out because Theo looked like he was starting to take steps to take off, and they could be running some 2 tight end sets. And I think they will because Harbaugh has done that in the past.
Harbaugh is just trying to make the Giants the Ravens.
Okay. And if he has better skill players like Neighbors, and Neighbors is a better receiver than he's probably ever had, at least potential-wise, he does have pieces that he's never had before. Give me Neighbors and Winston for a season. Heck with Dart. I do too, but I think Winston to Neighbors might make Neighbors the number 1 scoring receiver in the league.
Yeah, could be. Philadelphia.
Yep. One minor
They've done
re-signing.
almost nothing. They've done, almost nothing. Do they still have Goddard? Goddard's still on the team. They haven't cut him, right?
Goddard will be off the roster today if they don't come up with an extension for him. They moved his void date to a few days, and still no word on that yet. So I do expect him to sign relatively quickly after he's a free agent. But they did re-sign tight end Grant Calcaterra.
Calcaterra?
Yeah.
Yeah, Philadelphia is a team that might have some things on the move.
They're coasting.
But that's probably close to draft day.
Well, the rumor is if they traded A.J. Brown, they would re-sign Goddard, and they have all these moves in the back of their head if they moved A.J. Brown right now. So.
And yet they asked the world for A.J. Brown. Everyone told them no, and they're like, please take A.J. Brown now. Someone, please take him. And everyone's like, we moved on. Yeah. Good luck.
And if people are looking at Pittman as a example, that might be the closest, maybe a couple round draft compensation higher, because you got to remember Brown is paid. So not only do you have to give up compensation, you have to pay them top of the line money too. So, and probably even rip up his deal and give him a new one.
Yeah. And it's going to be between the DJ Moore and Pittman. I am surprised Pittman went for as little as he did. That I felt like almost any team. I felt like Atlanta would have been amazing for Pittman too, and they would have given up more. So how did no one see that and say, "Hey, we'll give you better compensation. Don't do that." But I say Brown probably a third.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Let's even say a second just for giggles. But still, I could see that happening during the draft. And then that brings up Washington, and we'll stay on the AJ Brown watch in the future weeks here. But their trades and signings were they signed Chig O to a 3-year deal. They signed running back Rachaad White to a 1-year deal, which was actually a pretty good signing. An extension for, at the time, restricted free agent Jake Moody, but they re-signed him to a cheaper deal than the restricted free agent tender. They re-signed wide receiver Treylon Burks to a 1-year deal. They re-signed backup quarterback Marcus Mariota to a 1-year deal, and they do not tender restricted free agent running back Chris Rodriguez, who actually signed with Jacksonville that we went over.
They did not break the bank on any of these offensive signings, so I thought that they would do a little bit more. So maybe they'll go offense in the draft a little bit more.
Yeah,
we'll
they
see.
might. They might also go after Brandon Ayuk if he ever becomes a free agent.
Yeah, I think they're waiting on that for sure. You got to think, though, that at some point, San Francisco is going to need the money and clear out Brandon Ayuk.
They might be trying to do a post-June trade to save the most amount of money, too, against the cap.
Well, I don't even think that matters for them because it's no guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed.
Yeah, there's still dead money, though, from his signing bonus that spreads out over the years. So he has only a $14 million cap hit this year. So they would only be $14 million coming off. And he has, let's see here, this little icon here to see what they would save. So with a pre-June 1st trade, it would cost them $19 million against the cap. Same thing with a release. They did a post-June 1st release, it would save them, and the same thing with a trade, $1.3 million against the cap. So it would be a post-June 1st, and they wouldn't see the cap until June 1st, I guess, or something like that. Like there's some sort of mechanism there.
They could just wait for June 1st, I guess.
Yeah, he's got a $14 million cap hit right now, so we'll see what that looks like.
Chicago signed Khalif Raymond for a 1-year deal from Detroit, and I think that opens things up for Detroit. And they traded away DJ Moore, as we've discussed, to Buffalo for the 2nd-round pick. So Luther Burden, Rome Odunze, Loveland, all those guys to the moon, to the moon.
I don't love that Komet's still there, but it just is what it is right now.
Yeah,
I think he's going to be annoying.
They've lost a lot of defensive players, so we'll see if they address those at some point. Detroit signed Isaiah Pacheco to a 1-year deal to replace losing David Montgomery. He is less of a threat to Gibbs than Montgomery was. They got Teddy Bridgewater on a 1-year deal as a backup, which is interesting that he's kind of been out of football a little bit, and they're bringing him back. They have Jake Bates as a restricted free agent that they tendered. And, losing Raymond Khalif to Chicago opens things up for Isaac Tesla to finally get some more touches. So I would like to see that now.
Too.
Yeah, I would like to see the guy that they traded 3 third-round picks to select actually play.
At best, though, I think you and I would both admit that he's the 5th option on that team as far as weapons go. Gibbs, Laporta, St. Brown, Williams, then Tesla.
Yeah, did Laporta really get targeted that much this year?
I mean,
all Tesla did was catch touchdowns whenever they threw it to him.
He might be a red zone weapon, that's for sure.
Which is crazy, because he's super athletic and fast.
But to answer your question, 16 games, Laporta had 83 targets. That was the year before. Hold on. He played in 9 games. In 9 games, he had 49 targets. And Tesla, in 17 games, had 27 targets. So he is still the 5th option on that team.
Well, now that Khalif Raymond is out, it obviously means Tesla is going to have 40 catches off of 57 targets.
To the moon. Did you know Raymond only had 30 targets last year? So we could add 30 more targets to Tesla.
That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
And then you take David Montgomery's targets. They have to go somewhere too. Yep. And they're not going to Pacheco.
So Montgomery last year had 36 targets and Pacheco had 26. and played in 4 fewer games. So they're pretty close. I think they're a pretty close 1-1, Pacheco and Montgomery. I think Pacheco fits Gibbs pretty well, too.
And I think people are forgetting that Pacheco was coming back from an injury last year and wasn't the same, but he should be healthier this season.
Shattered leg, right? And he couldn't push off of
Yeah.
it. And that's what he dominated on, was his power. All right.
So,
let's hop.
Yeah, let's keep it moving.
Keep it moving. Nothing too big for Detroit except for the Pacheco signing. Green Bay, nothing big at all. Just signed wide receiver Sky Moore to a 1-year deal. Their wide receiver room always seems super packed. I have 6 receivers on the team right now that I'm tracking. Probably a kick returner in this case.
Yeah. Sky Moore, remember, was the same draft class as Christian Watson.
Yep. And Jaden Reed, right? Or is Jaden Reed the one after?
I think the one after, I think.
Yeah. Went Watson 2022, Moore 2022, Reed 2023. Same thing with Wicks 2023, and 2025 is Williams and Golden. They love the young running backs, and I don't really get it because I think are the
young wide receivers.
Yeah, because I just think that they're lacking the Devontae Adams experienced wide receiver. And I'm not saying him exactly right now, but like when they had that, they're missing that right now. And I think they're hoping Watson turns into that, which he could at this point, but not there yet. Same thing with Reed. He could too. He had a broken collarbone last year that derailed his last year, and we'll see what they look like this year. But we'll see if Golden gets more opportunities.
They let their running back test free agency, and he's gone. They're back up.
Yep.
Wilson?
Absolutely. We'll get to him shortly because he actually went to a good spot for him, I believe.
Yeah.
But first, let's hop over to Minnesota here. They signed quarterback Kyler Murray to a 1-year deal, and they added a no tag clause on it. So he absolutely cannot be franchised or transition tag after this year. If he has a killer year, he is absolutely allowed to test the free agent market, and that is very big for him. And they agreed to a revised deal with running back Aaron Jones, who was scheduled to be a free agent and released on 3/11. But first, they agreed to a new deal with him, so they kept him.
Yeah. I've heard that Kyler Murray was already, before he signed, was already chatting with teams for his 2027 plan.
That was so smart.
And one of the conspiracies is he's going to be Matt Stafford's replacement in 2027.
Could be. Doesn't really fit the offense, but could be.
He does not. So
yeah, we'll see. But what if he likes his time in Minnesota and decides to stay too? Like O'Connell in a dome is not bad.
It has to go well for Minnesota to keep him.
Yeah, I think if he plays his average season, I think it's going to go much better than last year where they had 9 wins. Average.
We'll see.
They could use an upgrade at running back though, because I think Jones is old and I think Mason is just a guy. There we are.
Yeah, well, that's going to have to be in the draft for them.
There could be a few cuts too, like if they go Jeremiah Love in Tennessee, like you think, they could cut Tony Pollard, and Tony Pollard could be looking for a new home, and that would be interesting. But let's move on to the last 2 divisions here. We have Atlanta up first for the NFC South, and they did a slew of signings. They signed wide receiver Olamide Zaccheaus. They signed tight end Austin Hooper to a 1-year deal. That's a reunion of an old friend. I think Zaccheaus was as well. They signed kicker Nick Folk to a 2-year deal. They signed wide receiver Johan Dotson to a 2-year deal, and they are in the process, it's not official yet, but they're in the process of signing quarterback Tua Tagovailoa to a 1-year deal, and they've released wide receiver Darnell Mooney. Who do you think's the wide receiver 2 in Atlanta this upcoming year?
Mooney. And then I think Zaccheaus is...
Mooney's released.
Number 3. No, they brought Mooney back, I thought.
No, they released him days ago.
Am I crazy? Yeah, no, he's gone. Yeah. So I would guess number 2 then would be Zaccheaus. And Dotson is a dart throw number 3 for the moment.
Absolutely. I like Dotson. I've always liked him. But he's got to put it together. So we'll see if he does this year. But as of right now, I think Zaccheaus being the 3 and Dotson being the 2. We'll see what that looks like. But neither one of them have over 35 catches. Got to have someone step up opposite Drake London, but Tua Tagovailoa should have a shot to compete and start, at least initially, as Penix comes back from his knee injury. And Tua, who's already on his third contract technically, technically getting paid from his second one, is only 3 years younger, only 2 years younger than Michael Penix, or 2 years older than Michael Penix. So Penix is an old guy. He'll be 26 before the season starts. All right. Anything on this team here? You like what Stefanski's doing?
Nope, I do not.
All right. So we can move on to Carolina. They signed backup quarterback Kenny Pickett to a 1-year deal. And so that pretty much spells the end of Andy Dalton. I don't know how that ends, but it spells the end of it. They signed wide receiver John Mechie. They also tender exclusive free agent wide receiver Jalen Coker. That I think is a bit of a mistake because I believe they should have signed him to a bigger deal. And they had the opportunity to do that at a discount, and they did not take that there because I think Jalen Coker is one of the best receivers in the league that we don't talk about.
I think he was either a late round pick or undrafted free agent, right?
Yep.
Coker. And he was better than the guy they took in the second round. And
Yep, he's only 24 also. So I have him taking a step forward this year. He still won't break the wide receiver out of the wide receiver threes, but he's actually lower than the wide receiver threes for me right now. But I know a lot of people will take a flyer on him, hoping that he's more.
And he could be. Speaking of more, let's talk about New Orleans signing Travis Etienne. Etienne. It doesn't look like Etienne, but apparently Travis told everyone it's pronounced Etienne.
Yep, I can see it now. But 4-year deal for him, which could spell the end of Alvin Kamara's tenure with the Saints, either via trade or retirement. And they signed tight end Noah Fant to a 2-year deal. What do you think of their move so far?
Unnecessary, but I understand it, I guess.
Yep. I think this spells the end of Devin Neal and Kendre Miller talk. I think we can just put that to bed for now.
I think it means the end of Kamara, Jeff. Obviously.
I mean, it could. It very well could.
There's either rumored to either retire or be moving on.
Yep, absolutely. So we'll see what happens there. I think he'll retire because I don't think he wants to play outside of New Orleans, which is totally fine, and he's had a great deal.
But I do think Miller is gone. Neal is going to be a decent change of pace guy, but Neal was never really going to be a lead back.
Yep. And they still have Audric Estime on the roster that they re-signed after the year. So, and Estime actually looked good with the Saints down this. So,
yeah.
I do like moving on from Taysom Hill and going to the Noah Fant type tight end. So now they can run 2 tight end sets. But Juwan Johnson and Chris Olave figure to be the benefactors here. Would love for them to sign Juwan Jennings so we could have the Juwans there.
Yeah, he hasn't signed with a team yet. So I don't think teams want to pay him $20-something million. I think teams are like, you're not that player.
Yep. I could see him signing with the Colts and actually being a very productive player with the Colts.
I don't think he would sign with the Colts after what they paid Pierce.
Right.
I think he would say, I'm a better player than Pierce is.
And he might not be wrong.
He's not wrong. He's not. Pierce is a more athletic player, but yeah. So I could see him being like, hey, 49ers, about me being mad before. I'm so sorry. How about if I come back? I could 100% see that happening.
They don't have room for him now.
They will when they release Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, I'm just saying, their receiver room is Evans, Pearsall. Who else do they have on there right now? They have Demarcus Robinson that they paid last year. Bourne is not on their team. He signed with the new team.
Bourne said publicly he wants to be back.
Yep. But he signed with a new team that's not there. He will be back, just not as the home team. More later at 6. So they have Jordan Watkins that's a second year. They have Jacob Cowing that's a third year. I think they want to see what Jordan Watkins has as a 3 or a 4 next year.
Maybe.
They can't be taking these receivers and not seeing what they turn out to be. They do it the same thing with running backs because we don't know what Garendo or Jordan James are because that's what they do. All right.
Well, did we finish with Tampa Bay? Did we finish with this division? Because
we have Tampa left. So Tampa's signings were running back Kenneth Gainwell to a 2-year deal. They signed backup quarterback Jake Browning to a 1-year deal, which is kind of a weird fit behind Baker Mayfield for me. They do not tender one of your favorite restricted free agents, a running back Sean Tucker. But actually they did change their mind and they did tender him. So initially in my notes I had that they didn't tender him, but they did go back and they did tender him at the last minute. So I think they saw what the running back market looked like and they're like, all right, let's slap this $3 million deal on you. Re-signed tight end Cade Otton to a 3-year deal. What do you think of the moves that they made? How do you feel about Kenneth Gainwell from Rachaad White?
Well, Kenneth Gainwell's a better running back than Rachaad White is. He can actually run, whereas Rachaad White was more receiver than anything else. Smart to keep Sean Tucker because he's your best short yardage back that's on the roster. So don't lose him because I think he could have been a feature back somewhere else. I think probably means bad stuff for Bucky Irving because now your short yardage vulture is back and a significant pass down threat is here with just when people thought you'd be free to start catching the ball. So I would fade Bucky Irving in every league, every format, except in the league I'm in with you, and I think he's worth the first overall pick.
There you go.
So,
Bucky does have a better yards per catch than Gainwell does. We're talking like 8 yards versus 6 yards per catch on their average. It is a pretty big deal, so I don't think he'll lose all of the receiving work. I think it'll be probably like a 60-40 split, right? The hot hand type deal, but I think Bucky and Gainwell could be top 30 running backs in fantasy this year.
Maybe. I mean, their offensive line is going to start off healthier this year, so we'll see.
Yeah, but if you look,
Cade Otton back though, and that's nice.
Absolutely, yeah. If you look at Warren last year, who finished 16th, and Gainwell, who finished 20th, they had 2 top 20 running backs in Pittsburgh, so it is possible.
But with Mike Evans leaving, it's Emeka Egbuka to the moon, right?
No,
right?
No, I think
Emeka.
I think that spot is held by Jalen McMillan. I think Egbuka spot.
I thought you were gonna go Godwin for a second, and you went McMillan.
Nope. Egbuka is Godwin's replacement. There's very overlining skill set between those two.
Interesting.
Yep. Absolutely. So I don't think they should have re-signed Godwin last year, and they should have let McMillan and Egbuka run with Evans and Godwin roles. But too late to go back, and I don't think he really wanted to go to New England at that time, but although it probably would have been a great spot for him. Diggs would have never signed with New England.
Well, I wanted the Texans to take Egbuka, and Tampa Bay drafted him super early.
So you just was very upset that they won't take Stowers now because you've been pounding the table for Egbuka last year, and now you're pounding the table for Stowers.
Well, Egbuka went like 10 spots before the Texans, so that's not the Texans' fault. I think they would have taken him, especially since he already is familiar with CJ Stroud. They played together. So, would have been really nice.
Absolutely. You ready to hop to the last division?
Yeah. Do you want to jump to the 49ers since we keep talking about them? And then we'll do the other ones.
We will, since they start with a number, I guess. So they signed wide receiver Mike Evans to a 3-year deal. They are in the process or going to release wide receiver Brandon Ayuk at some point. They re-signed kicker Eddie Pinheiro to a 4-year deal, and they re-signed tight end Jake Tonjes to a 2-year deal. Pretty status quo other than Mike Evans swapping in for Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they could be doing some more fun stuff on offense. Trent Williams is likely on his way out of the 49ers unless they somehow make him happy. So I'd be very curious to track that storyline. That's their left tackle who's 38. So very curious how that shakes out for them. And if they add any more weapons and if they are able to move on from the electrical substation Because as of right now, I love Mike Evans. I am terrified to actually draft him in a redraft league because he already has soft tissue issues, and now he's going to get the evil electrical substation that took out half of San Francisco's roster last year, allegedly.
Absolutely, and I know you love the conspiracy theories, so might as well stick to it there.
It ain't a conspiracy if it's true.
That's
It's
true.
not a theory.
It is a theory.
It's still a
not
conspiracy.
proven.
Yeah, it's still a conspiracy. It's not a theory once it's proven.
It's proven?
It will be. You wait.
Before the season. Okay, so we can hop over to Arizona here, the top of the division. They signed running back Tyler Algier to a 2-year deal. They signed backup quarterback Gardner Minshew to a 1-year deal. They signed wide receiver Kendrick Bourne to a 2-year deal. So there's that Kendrick Bourne. He'll go back to San Francisco once a year as a visitor. They do not tender restricted free agent running back Amari DiMercato, who signed with the Chiefs. They released quarterback Kyler Murray, who signed with the Vikings already. They do not tender kicker Chad Ryland. Rather, they re-sign him to a cheaper 1-year deal. They also tender exclusive free agent kicker Joshua Carty, so that appears to be a kicker battle on the horizon. And they re-sign restricted free agent running back Bam Knight to a 1-year deal. Seems like that they have 4 running backs under contract. They have Connor, they have Algier, they have Benson, and they have Knight all under contract. So they probably will not be drafting a running back in this upcoming draft. What do you think of their moves so far with Minshew versus Brissett for?
I don't know why they would get rid of Kyler Murray and then sign a slower version of Kyler Murray and Minshew.
Minshew Mania is back.
I don't know why they would do that. I already like Brissett as the starter, and I think that they should have just gone potential rookie to back him up and develop behind him. And if you weren't going to do that, then I think, Brissett versus Flacco would make more sense than Brissett versus Minshew.
Rumor has it they wanted Jimmy Garoppolo in that spot, and that negotiation fell apart.
Even worse than Minshew. I don't know what they're doing.
Yep. Seems like they're tanking for the quarterback class of 2027. That may or may not be good because we thought 2026 was going to be good, and here we are. We have Mendoza, and I don't even like him.
Yeah, Mendoza, who wasn't even on anyone's radar, and all the guys that were are now mid-round picks or late-round picks.
And I like some of them, but they'll have to prove their NFL readiness.
All right, let's talk the LA Rams trading their 29th pick in the draft for a corner and solidifying a position of need, giving him an extension. They tendered their kicker Harrison Mevis and re-signed Tyler Higbee to a 2-year deal.
You had Higbee going to the Texans.
Yeah. Can't go to the Texans if he resigns before free agency happens.
They like him. I've always told you that. And you're always like, they draft people and they sign other people. I'm like, they love him. I don't know why, but they do. Maybe he has something on McVay or the GM.
I don't know what else they're going to do signing-wise, but they still have their mid-first round pick, and they'll probably look at, another tight end or another receiver or offensive lineman, something like that is my guess.
They and the Patriots are making a strong push to land Eagles wide receiver A.J. Brown currently. So that is the latest and greatest with that.
Why would the Rams be in on that?
No idea, but that just came down per Diana Rossini. So
I feel like Diana Rossini is the type of reporter where if it's something I agree with, I'm like, yeah, she's right. And then when it's something that she reports that I don't agree with, I'm like, she's wrong all the time. What are you talking about?
That's every reporter, not just her. But I think the Rams realize that this could be the last year with Stafford. But if I'm Philly and we think Sirianni's job's on the line, I'm not giving him to an NFC team that could potentially knock me out of the playoffs because you have 3 stellar receivers. But that's not to say they wouldn't release Davante Adams then either if they acquired A.J. Brown. I don't know how much guaranteed money is left on Davante Adams' deal. The latest and greatest there. So we'll see if the Rams by next week end up with a new...
Maybe she misspoke. Maybe it's supposed to be the Chargers.
Should be. But the Rams can cut Davante Adams for a $14 million cap savings. So it is possible. Or
I don't think
June 1st.
I don't think that they would cut him though.
It's 33. So they might think A.J. Brown is the better version of Davante Adams. Younger. Can't see them rostering Adams, Brown, and Puka. But that seems like too many. And if they do, Stafford has to be to the moon because he should be able to pass at will. Like a ridiculous amount. Like he might get 5,000 yards passing with that trio. All right. Last team, the Super Bowl champs. They have signed running back Emmanuel Wilson to a 1-year deal, so he was non-tendered by Green Bay. And they re-sign wide receiver Rashid Shaheed to a 3-year deal, and they do end up tendering wide receiver restricted free agent Jake Bobo, who they were not going to tender. So I'm assuming they saw the prices of some of the players, and they decided to do it.
Yeah, I like the Emmanuel Wilson deal, and I like re-signing Rashid Shaheed to a much better contract than what Alec Pierce got signed to. Other than that, I mean, they are losing so many of their players from the Super Bowl, and they don't have very many draft picks, so they will likely regress heavily this year, in my opinion.
Probably. They could also release Cooper Kupp and free up some money. I don't know how much he has left pending, but that's a possibility. So I think there's more moves on the way for the Seahawks. But yeah, they could get out this year with no problem. I like Horton better than him anyways, so there's that.
I do like Horton, but I think Shaheed is a misunderstood player who's not been given a real fair shake.
By multiple teams.
No, by multiple two teams.
And is that not multiple?
Really, it was half a season.
Half a team.
The other half was 1.5 teams. Okay, definitely wasn't given a fair shake at Seattle because all they used him for basically was a return man, and he got touchdowns left and right. So,
I mean, and if he's just that, he's worth what they paid him because he could change the game. He won the 49ers game on that first play of the game in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, that win is completely Shaheed's. Like, that's not a Darnold win. That's not a coach win. That's not... I think he outscored him on that first play, too.
Yeah. I like Shaheed. Kind of wish he would have gone to the Raiders at this point, but it is what it is. That would have freed up Horton.
Tucker.
Well, I'd rather Horton have a good year than Tucker.
I mean, Tucker's younger, though. And they got Naylor, and they might have nailed that. The Vikings really liked him. They just couldn't afford to keep him.
Yeah.
So
we'll see.
To keep Aaron Jones.
I still want Betch and Thornton to go off too.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen at this point, though, because they are down to 3rd and 4th on the depth chart. So one of them will get an opportunity, one of them won't.
Well, I think Thornton is more of a deep threat. Betch will get more receiving work, is my guess. But anyway, I think we've covered all of the teams, Jeff.
Absolutely, and I appreciate everyone sticking with us for a little bit longer of a free agent extravaganza episode.
And that does it for this episode of the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you all for downloading and listening to this episode, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. Please leave us a comment and share the show. Every little bit helps.
You can find us on all podcasting apps by searching N2E Fantasy, and with our handle N2E Fantasy on all social media platforms. Please join our community and give us a follow. Until next time, take care of yourselves, and remember, it's truly never too early for fantasy football. Thank you again.
Bye, everybody.